Hello, everyone. This is Warhawk Beyond 2040, and welcome to another edition of the Black Lightning Season 4 review series. And today I am going to be talking about Episode 8, The Book of Ruin, Chapter 3, Things Fall Apart, which I have just finished watching earlier. And this episode was different. It was interesting. I would probably say this one was quite a game changer. And, we're still dealing with the aftermath of Jennifer having a whole new look and her dealing with her powers, and of course Tobias while on his personal one-man crusade to destroy not only Jefferson Pierce but the entire family as well. And Gamby is still working undercover and doing all sorts of different things. And this episode had a lot going for it, and this was really good. This episode kind of picks up where we left off, sort of, from the last episode, which was Painkiller. But the Painkiller episode, as I explained in the last edition, that was more of a backdoor pilot, so to speak, but they didn't really reference much of that in this episode. The most that we got was Anissa and Grace return from their honeymoon in the Askik Valley, so that's the most we got. But other than that, this episode was pretty good, really. And we see Jefferson is being accused of embezzling money from the Freeland School, so that was quite an interesting twist, and we know that Tobias is behind it, but it's just a matter of proving it. So this episode had a lot going for it, and this was really good. So with that all said, let's get right into it. Let's talk about Episode 8, The Book of Ruin, Chapter 3, Things Fall Apart. So we see that Anissa and Grace are back from their honeymoon trip to visit the family to tell them about their marriage, and find themselves confronted with a surprise party. It's, of course, Anissa's doing. However, the party is interrupted by FBI knocking on their door, looking for a way to search the house with a warrant. After a tense moment, Jefferson finally lets them in, and it's revealed that he's been accused of embezzling money from the high school. Lynn suspects that it could be Tobias who is behind this. We also see Tobias isn't just trying to get at Jefferson through criminal charges, but at a coffee shop, the teacher from the Fight Club, Marcel, meets with Jefferson to show him a notice that the house is being taken by the city. Tobias and his developers are taking the whole neighborhood, and we learn that he plans to build a hospital in the area, something that is proving to be a popular move among voters in Freeland. Jennifer, now going under the name as JJ, heads off to school, and TC asks her how she's feeling, and they talk. But they also come across a student named Montel who's trying to get clout online by making a deal about the charges being brought against Jefferson. He is also confronted by another student, Uriah, and JJ ends up talking to him and flirting with him. When Jefferson tries to get to fight for the house, Jen tells him to take the money and move on. We also learn during the conversation she calls him Daddy, which takes him by surprise because that's something that she hasn't called Jefferson in many years. Later at her lab, Lynn goes over some additional tests on JJ and discovers there are in fact differences between Jen and JJ. JJ's lab reads as unstable, but Lynn doesn't say anything to anyone. This could prove interesting later on. At Lynn's clinic, Anissa runs into an old friend who is pregnant, but the baby tested positive with markers for cystic fibrosis. Another doctor says they can fix it entirely, much to Anissa's surprise. It turns out it has something to do with the partnership with Monte Vista, but it's a secret, and the patients are referred to Monte Vista, something that seems to not go well with Anissa. Later, in her Blackbird persona, Blackbird and Wild break into the clinic to get records on Kiki's cystic fibrosis procedure, and they are confronted by Ismail. He manages to knock Blackbird down, but after a long fight, it's only when Wild shifts into her tiger form that the fight ends with Ismail fleeing. Gamby later fills Anissa and Grace on everything he's found out about Ismail. Tobias hosts a rally and says he thinks Jefferson has been arrested on embezzlement charges, and uses that as an example of how far Freeland has fallen and how he's the solution to bring Freeland back up to the top. So that's what he's doing. So Tobias is on a mission to ruin Jefferson's image and also put himself back in the good graces of Freeland. He also trots out Marcel playing up how he was a homeless teacher at Garfield, but now he's changed his life. Elsewhere, Tobias's henchman confronts Baxter at Monte Vista, using his powers to assault the man with a golf club and then threatens to kill him with a bullet. Gamby watches through the security system. It confirms him as the mayor's killer. Lynn pays Gamby a visit. She has a vial of Val's powers that she needs to test but can't risk testing it on herself. Gamby agrees to let Lynn inject himself to test them instead. However, after the injection, Gamby doesn't really feel any different. Lynn suspects something is wrong, and later at the sanctum, TC is trying to track things with the money and embezzlement, but when Gamby walks in, TC can no longer use his powers through the computer systems. When he walks away, he can. Lynn figures out that Val's powers are nullification, making her the single greatest threat to the Pierce family. That's an interesting twist because, in a way, it kind of like numbs everybody's powers when Gamby's in the room. So I wonder how that's going to play out in the next couple of episodes. In his room, TC video chats with Filky about Khalil and Painkiller. TC fills in Khalil about what's going on with Jefferson, and Khalil offers to help deal with Tobias due to his long history with him and working with him in the past. At Monte Vista, Lauren gets her energy device online. Gamby creates a diversion so he can acquire Promethium and narrowly avoids getting caught. This was actually really good. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Mission Impossible. He plans to use the Promethium to fortify the Pierce family suits. At school, the music program is cut, and JJ suggests they do a fundraiser to get the money to continue the program, and suggests she has an idea how. And that pretty much ends episode 8 and ends my review. Overall, very good episode. Really enjoyed this one a lot. You know, the idea of Jefferson being accused of embezzling the money from the school is an interesting twist, so it's going to be cool to see how they will clear his name. And Tobias trying to ruin Jefferson's image and putting himself in the good graces of everyone in Freeland is an interesting story arc, because we all know Tobias is behind everything that's been going on. So I'm just wondering how that's going to play out. So with that all said, I am going to wrap this up now. What did you think of episode 8? Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts on Gamby being in the room and everyone has no powers? Do you think this is a temporary thing, or do you think there's something more permanent? And what about Jefferson? Do you think he will be able to get his name cleared? And what other schemes do you think Tobias has up his sleeve? And also, do you think Lauren will eventually catch Gamby out? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Black Lightning Season 4 review series, where I'll be talking about episode 9. So until next time, take care everybody, and stay safe, and once again, thanks for listening.